Hi, so today I'm going to do the obligatory make something out of a pillowcase, because are you even a true DIYer if you don't? Like, the pillowcase and blanket I have were owned by me and pre-owned by me. Sometimes I think about getting them from Goodwill and places and stuff, because there's a lot of back history with what goes on with blankets. But today I'm going to be making a skirt out of a pillowcase, and I've got an old sheet that went with it, so I'm going to use them together, and I think I'm going to make a fusion between both, or use both to complement each other. Let me show you. Here's the pillowcase. It's got kind of like a, what would it be, old 40s businessman kind of look. Oops. I love anything pinstripe. Has kind of like this tan border on it. So I think I will turn this part into the waistband. What I'd like to do is kind of have it similar to a pencil skirt, but maybe have like an open seam on the side, like a slit up the side would be cool. Yeah, and then I've got this old sheet that complements it, I think, quite well. So what I'd like to do, I don't know how much I'll hem this. If I do, I'll have some left from it that I can kind of make it like a set, so that like I'll have a piece of this and this. I think I want to do a ruffle with this on the skirt, and then if I have some of this, I can put it in the top as well, and then it'll complement each other, because I think without it, it kind of just looks very separate, which is good in some senses, because you want to be able to wear like sets separately sometimes. It's the fun thing about them, is they're very versatile. I'll do some drawing on my iPad, and I'll show you what my thought process is and walk through kind of the different ideas I have. I'm pretty new to sewing. I've done it on and off through some when I was little, like my grandmother helped me with like small projects and everything, and I did some quilting classes. I'm not unfamiliar with a sewing machine, but there's still like many things I need to learn on it. But for now, let's just enjoy a fun project. I will see you at the drawing board. Here's the design I did. I put a ruffle at the bottom of this skirt, but I did not keep that in the design later, and you'll see why. Okay, so I drew out the pattern, and it started storming outside, so it looks like a lot later than it is. Not that much time has passed, it's just really dark in this trailer. So I read the pattern for the top. It looks like I'm gonna have to get more supplies than I thought. Labeled easy doesn't mean that you easily accumulate everything. That's what I get for not reading. I just picked it up because I thought it would complement the skirt. So we'll reconvene tomorrow on that one after I read and do some more research. But I mean, again, the point of these projects is so I can learn. So let's start at the bottom, because that should be enough for today. So you've already seen the sketch. So I thought I had 2 sheets of this green one. It looks like I only have the fitted sheet, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off the elastic so I can see it out flat and everything, because it kind of puffing is just, it's not working. So time lapse into that. Here I was removing a side seam so I could put buttons on for a place to get in and out on the waist. Okay, so I've turned the pillow inside out because I just want to cut the seam here, keep as much fabric as I possibly can, especially if I end up wanting to take some off. I want it like even instead of just all over the place. There was a feather pillow in this. Crazy. A little extra with this right now. I'm starting to guess I could have probably. There we go. Now I won't have to pick all that thread out. Anyway, I finished that part, taking that off, so let's see. How long is that gonna be? I want enough for the shirt part. Sorry if it's hitting the microphone, I never realized that till way later. But for the shirt part to cover at least maybe a panel on the outside and then have the green going down as straps. You saw it in the design. Okay, after going through all the old buttons I've accumulated over the years, I found some for the waist closure. Then I proceeded to sew on said buttons. I tried measuring them out at first so I would get the spacing right, but I still managed to not get it correct, and they are a little close together and very far apart in some sections, so I'll have to figure out how to do that better. Here I'm cutting out strips of fabric for the loops for the button closures. Ironed them out so they would lay flat, so I could fold them over and sew down the middle. And after that I measured out my pattern, so I started cutting that all out. Here I cut out the panel from the skirt so I could have a chunk for the top, and I had enough for the back as well. It's been a little bit, but I'm learning. I chose an easy pattern supposedly, but it's probably the hardest thing labeled easy I've done, which I know a lot of sewing things assume you know way more than you probably actually do, which can be hard. So just because something's labeled easy, I wouldn't necessarily think that you're going to be able to learn just by reading it. You're going to have to do a lot more research, and I've got some vague knowledge around sewing, like even more than the average person. So I would say picking things up, I would definitely get find a way to get the basic knowledge of what different terms mean, or I don't know, but it's just my brain. But it was very hard to translate over looking at images like that, and then I had to watch a lot of videos and everything. And I for most part finished it, but I had the notorious problem that a lot of people do with measuring everything. I measured myself. I looked at the measurements on the garment. I chose in between what would be good, not too big, not too small. I have no way of saying. I do have struggle measurements and everything, but I don't know how I got this much extra. I did a lot of research on how to measure yourself and read the measurements on the patterns, but still, it's ginormous. So I'm going to undo everything that looks finished. I'm gonna have to kind of make it ugly again. I don't know how to really undo it or take everything undone and reverse engineer it so it looks pretty again by the time I put it back together, but it's unwearable where it's at this point, so unfortunately. Really cool. Unwearable at the moment. As for the skirt, put the buttons on and everything, and I'm going to have to work on the waist measurements for that, and I think I'm going to darts along it, so it's like more of a pencil skirt and then it tapers in at the waist. I'll see if that goes well. If not, this whole thing may just fall to pieces, but you know, it is learning, and that's why you do it on cheaper materials like this, or you know, cost-effective things, recycled bits, because it does take a very long time to you can learn the concepts of something, but learning the mechanics around it takes a very long time, motor skills and everything. So yeah, that's my update for that. We'll see how the rest of it goes. This has taken me a lot longer than I wanted it to, but anything with a project where you're learning new stuff, all in all, was fun. Can't wear it. Was fun putting it together. Feels cool learning a lot of the steps about garments and how they're made. It will be said, undoing everything.
So here's the final product and what I was able to achieve. It's definitely not wearable, and I haven't figured the waist out, but I still want to rework it in the future. I learned so much. It's sad it's not wearable, but I learned so much.
Well, overall, I would say I learned a great deal. Like, so much. Just taking your time and reading the instructions 100 times over. That definitely helps a lot, because not much information, or there's no video on how to construct something. Yeah, it's definitely harder for me learning that way. I'd say overall with this, I wouldn't call it a complete failure because I learned a lot, but I also can't retry again, because as you saw, I would love to figure out how to manipulate a pattern, but because I'm so new at this, I really can't diverge too much without altering it or messing it up. I can't diverge too much without messing it up. But it would be nice, because I have like no shoulders right here, so it just goes out and falls down my arms. So most things I prefer to come up higher, and then my shoulder peek out, but you can even see that it just swoops right down. No shoulder, cards fall off. I don't have any more fabric. I messed up quite a few spots when trying to redo it. I was kind of hopeful that I could just trim it down, but somehow, that's why I have like the shirt on and everything. It's like, if you look here, I lost all the fabric that went down here on my ribcage, so I would expose myself pretty easy in this. When I have skills, hopefully in the future, as I keep practicing, I'll try to make this pattern again. It shows you the importance of like recycling materials, if you especially don't have the income to be buying material, because it's very costly even in a lot of the discount places. You have old linens, or go to Goodwill, find old linens. I make jokes about linens. I still will, but I do think it's important to use them. I just find it weird. I think it's cool. I'm definitely keeping this skirt aside, even though the waist isn't exactly how I want it. I like it enough to keep it for when I have the skill to kind of work with it in the way I want, because I do like this kind of pattern. Hope you join me for the next project, and I will see you again soon.